Hello and welcome to the FasterFreedom Show. My name is Sam.
And I'm Lucas.
And Lucas, we have the third leg of the thruple with us today.
The tripod.
The tripod, that's what they called me in college, as you know.
Yeah, right. Just balancing.
Yeah, maybe that was it. We got Mr. Jason Pritchard with us today. We're going to let him introduce himself here in a minute. But we've had his, in one of his businesses, his business partner Stratton and Dean, and now we got the Mac Daddy of them all. We're going to call him Jason Daddy instead of Strat Daddy.
I like it.
You like it. And we're going to get into a lot of different cool things today. Everything from flipping to buying rentals to wholesaling to growing a business to running events to traveling across the world. All of the fun things. So with that kind of half-assed intro, Jason, why don't you introduce yourself to the people?
Thank you guys very much, first and foremost, for bringing me on the show. Appreciate you. I've been admiring everything that you guys have been doing from afar, so it was good to connect with you at the Deal Champ Summit last year. So excited for this. Quick intro on me for the people that are watching this show. My name is Jason Pritchard. Home base for me is Fresno, California. So that's basically the Central Valley. We do business and deals all up and down from Sacramento down to Bakersfield. Prior to getting into real estate, I was in corporate America for 15 years. And so I worked in sales and sales management at two large companies. I had thought I found my calling very early on. I was making multiple six figures within my early 20s. And I thought I was just going to climb the corporate ladder and become like a mid-level executive and make a few $100,000 a year and come with all the fringe benefits that come along with that. And I found myself in a space in my early 30s where I was just very unhappy. I was disenchanted with my job. I was disenchanted with my life. And I was projecting a lot of that unhappiness into my marriage and into my relationship with my kids. And it took me taking a long, hard look in the mirror and realizing that unhappiness was stemming from the fact that I was not living up to what I thought my full potential was. I was sitting in my office and sitting in my cubicle, kind of looking to my left and looking to my right. And I could see my future, dude. Like I could look at some of the older employees that I was working with. And I was like, dude, if I don't do something, I know exactly where I'm going to be in 20, 30 years. I'm going to be right next to Bill or right next to Sally, just doing the same old thing, man. And I had always been intrigued by the idea of real estate investing. Like a lot of us, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad when I was really young. I was always intrigued with the idea of buying rentals and flipping houses. And for one reason or another, man, I just felt like when I was 32, 33, if it did not happen then, I just didn't feel like it was going to happen for me. And, long story short, 2014, I sat down with my wife, Jen, who's always been my biggest supporter and fan. And we put a plan together, gave myself a year. We burned all the boats. We didn't look back and flipped our first house in 2015. Since then, we've done close to 500 investment deals. We've taken a lot of that money and then reinvested into rental properties. We own a rental portfolio of just north of 100 units, mainly in Central California. And it's been a wild ride the last 10 years, man. It's been lots of fun, learned a ton, and excited to share that more on the show today.
Damn, that's super cool.
That is a really cool story, man. It's so relatable.
Yeah, some parts that I could see in ourselves a little bit, especially the time frame that you guys started is almost exactly when we got started. Didn't know what we're doing. You were but I think he was like had a little better plan than we did. So what's cool about you and cool about our story is, I found out a little earlier, like, hey, this is not for me. Like I knew the first month, and it, but for sure, like this is definitely not for me. I'm never going back. I've tried it for 15 years, and we've seen similar stories, maybe not to the entrepreneurs that Sam and I are, but to some high-level leaders that we brought on our team, almost have, like my brother-in-law who runs our whole flipping business has such a similar story to you. And he told me, he's like, I can see my exact future, and I hate it. I hate that aspect of it. And even though he's not an entrepreneur, he still gets the flexibility to run a small business, and super cool, man. I love that for you. That's a great story.
Yeah, he's about as close as entrepreneur as you can get being an operator. Yeah. And then, Lucas's story, Lucas knew right away. I mean, it did take Lucas the better half of a decade to get through college, Jason.
That's true.
But once he got through college, he realized this isn't for me.
Yeah, I mean, I spent 6 years graduating to get to be an engineer.
All right, so we got a ton to dig into. That is awesome. I didn't realize you run a portfolio over there in California. That's the first thing that hopped out to me besides a lot of other cool stuff, Jason. So tell me a little bit about your rentals, because from the Midwest here, we are, there's benefits and there's disadvantages to being in the Midwest, right? A little both. Same with being on the coast. So me here in the Midwest, St. Louis, we own a pretty good amount of rentals as well, and we're like, like we can buy them, burn them out, they cash flow, maybe not a ton, but at least a little bit. We get appreciation. It's like, why wouldn't we buy 10,000 of these? Yeah. All right, now take me out to California, kind of that Central Valley area. Tell me about how kind of these deals come together. Do you leave cash in them? Do you put 20% down? Kind of walk me through your rental portfolio growth. I think you did mention that you're probably using some of your profits from your flips, which probably has to be done. But anyways, tell me about your rental portfolio, kind of what it's made up of and how you do the deals.
The big thing that allowed us to scale, because we bought our first rental, which was just a single family house in 2016, and we went from 0 units to 50 units in 3 years. So from 2016 to 2019, I made the decision to basically run our flipping operation at a break even. So all we did was we took, enough cash to pay our bills, to pay for our marketing, to cover all of our overhead, and everything else got plowed into rental properties. And so we built a business where, like a lot of us do on this side, we created a transactional arm of the business that created the deal flow. And we just tried to cherry pick the very best deals. And we would take those off the assembly line, keep them for ourselves, and we would sell the rest just to cover our overhead. And so, I have burred almost everything, dude. And burr is not an exact science. So sometimes we end up leaving a little bit of money in the deal. But for the most part, I pride myself on really, we've always found really good deals out here. And just to add some context to the people that are listening, we are in California, but Central California is very different than what I think a lot of people think California prices are, right? So we're not in LA, we're not in San Francisco. We're positioned right in the middle of the state in the Central Valley. And the median price points for houses out here, even though they've gone up a lot in the last few years, are in the high 3s, maybe low 4s, depending on where you're at. And so you can still buy, especially if you're a blue collar neighborhood, which is what works very well for me. Like I would say C+, B- neighborhood, 3-bed, 2-bath, 3-bed, 1-bath. Those were the houses that we were buying. Now at the beginning, in 2016, I was still able to get deals well under $100,000 out here. So I would buy properties for 70, 80,000 bucks. We would put 40, 50 grand into them and we'd burr those out. And that's basically how we scaled very quickly. And the rents have increased. So we've got really good cash flow. We were able to lock in really good interest rates. So the vast majority of our portfolio, dude, we've got really good performing cash flow, plus the bonus of having all the appreciation that we got, dude. Because all those houses that I bought for 60, 70 grand and we put 40 grand into them, they're all worth 300 grand now. So we've got a ton of equity. We've got really good debt on there. And, we're constantly, I'd say thinning the herd and getting rid of some of the dogs and, repositioning some of it. But for the most part, dude, we're in a really good spot from a cash flow position. Plus we get the bonus of all the appreciation.
I love that, man. 2016 to 2019. What a fantastic time to stack a whole bunch of rentals too. We did something very similar during that time frame. Are you still able or even excited or, able to buy cash flowing rentals in today's market? And maybe what do those numbers look like now?
We bought exactly one property. It was a 6-unit apartment building in a really nice neighborhood that we liked out here that we just got at an amazing price. We paid $460 for it. I've got 75 grand into it. And 6 months later, it refinanced for just under 900,000. So that was, for our terms, an incredible deal. But we haven't really been hanging on to much else, guys. I'll be honest with you. I feel like because of the market, because of what's been happening with interest rates, we've been focusing on increasing deal flow, monetizing as many of those deals as we can, and just building up as much capital reserves as we can. So we're trying to sit on a little bit more cash and just wait for the right time to reposition. And I was very fortunate that all those doors that I bought acted as an insurance policy, because end of 22, beginning of 23, we lost a significant amount of money on the flips that we had. And so we were able to offload a small handful of our rental properties just to insulate us from some of the risks that we said from those losses. And so beyond just all the things that we talk about, the cash flow, the appreciation, the depreciation, it's given me some additional liquidity too, where I think a lot of people that were just flipping and wholesaling, they don't have the option to liquidate some of the assets like we did and still be in a really good position and weather some of the storms that we had when this market shifted.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. A lot of what you've done and your experiences and your numbers, even a lot of different things, are very similar to, like, I'm sure you hear that a lot from people like us that don't really understand the market as much, but like that Central Valley area is almost kind of Midwestern feel to the price points, and I mean, you probably get a little more appreciation and maybe a little less cash flow, but you still get some. But it's very similar to what we've done, so that's really cool. And I've been out to Central Valley, going out to the Deal Chant Summits, and I've been to your house. He's got an incredible crib. We'll put the address in the show notes if anybody wants to go out there and party at his pool.
For everybody.
He's got an incredible pool, a huge backslider. Anyways, awesome house, man. So tell me a little bit about these teams you have for these companies. So it sounds like, again, I feel like a broken record here, but similar to us, education, flipping, wholesaling, and rentals, kind of three main businesses. I'm sure you dabble in a few other things maybe, but kind of walk me through your teams in those three main businesses.
Sure. So our main business is the flipping and wholesaling business. That's the driver for everything else. It's what's allowed us to build the rentals and the coaching business, obviously. And so that's where the majority of the people work for us. We've got a total of 16 team members. About half of the team is virtual, all based out of the Philippines. We've had really, really good luck with our virtual team members, so much so that some of our core team members, we actually went out to the Philippines, my wife and I, last summer to go visit them. We did some team building with them because they've been such a pivotal part in our business. And then the other half are my director of acquisitions out here, director of operations. I have somebody that helps me with coaching. And then we've got, because we self-manage the vast majority of our units, we've got on-staff maintenance person, on-staff project manager, on-staff property manager that are all in-house. And so we try to keep everything in-house. And that's another reason why, like Dean, for example, another buddy of mine in Deal Champs, he uses outside management, and we're constantly talking about this. His portfolio doesn't cash flow as much because, he's giving away, a chunk of that to the manager. And so we've always managed our properties in-house, and we've got some pretty good systems in place to do that. And then about a year and a half ago, we started doing some coaching, which has grown. And, between all the meetups and events that we do, we have lots of people asking for that. And that's been a really cool ride. I know, like you, man, we really like to pour into people. I feel like I'm speaking to Jason from 10 years ago when I get up on stage in the meetups, and I can remember being that guy in the back of the room, being nervous, not, wanting to come and get outside of my shell and talk to people. And I want to help as many people like me that were stuck in corporate America that had a bigger vision for themselves and figure out a way to help them, get a piece of, some of the stuff that we're doing now.
Yeah, I love that. I think, again, a lot of similarities.
You have to stop saying that, Lucas.
We're about 45 team members, give or take now, and I would say about half of that is in the flipping and wholesaling business. And you're absolutely right. That's kind of where it all starts. That's where the great content comes from. That's where your rental portfolios come from. And if you're operating right, that's where you get some cash too. So I love that. So it all starts with a house, right? So what is your team doing to go out there and find deals at a discount in this market?
We've always gone off market, direct to seller. And I'll be honest with you guys, dude, I could probably count on two hands the amount of properties that I bought directly off MLS over the last 10 years. So we've been very, very fortunate that I've focused on direct to seller marketing. And I always say that my big competitive advantage when I got into real estate investing in 2014 was all of the sales experience that I brought from corporate America. So I knew what it was like to have a lead come into the system, to act with the urgency, to have a sales process, to follow up consistently. You realize you're going to get told no way more times than you're going to get to told yes, right? And so I think all of those things really helped. Our number one driver, our number one marketing channel is direct mail. We spend about $35,000 a month on direct mail, and we're mailing basically all up and down the state of California. We have on-site cold callers. We have outside text messengers. We do a lot of SEO to drive inbound leads. And then we've got a sales team between the virtual team and the people that are here, boots on the ground in Fresno, that qualify those leads and work them through our sales process and make them offers. And direct to seller has worked very, very well for us.
I like it. Yeah, we do. Direct mail is probably our most consistent lead sources. We've messed around with the pay per lead type of thing and PPC, and Lucas is all over TV here in St. Louis with his big, beautiful, shining bald head. And we have something that's a little bit different. Do you ever do, and like how I put the jabs in the middle of the comment and question so that everybody forgets about it, so nobody has time to rebuttal it. But anyways, we do quite a bit of like connector networking marketing, no ad spend, but, time and energy spend. We have nine acquisitions reps right now. And a lot of what they do is they go find, leads from a ton of different sources. So we're probably going to buy, rough numbers, Luke can correct me, this is more his lane, but 250-ish houses this year, maybe 100 through marketing and maybe 150 through no dollars in marketing spend. So we have an entire training system around getting free leads that take our acquisition guys time to obviously acquire. Do you do much of that, like networking connector stuff, buying from other wholesalers or agents?
I mean, I would say direct mail is our number one most profitable marketing channel, and number two, what we would call our networker. In our system, we call it referrals. And so it's just, I've been doing meetups out here in Fresno for 8 years, dude. You know what I mean? And so I started where it was me and 6 people in a room. And then, then it was 13 people in a room. And then it was 20 people in a room. And it stayed like that for a couple of years. And then eventually it grew to the point where we were getting 100, 150, 200 people. And when you do that and you just come from a place of abundance and you give very freely and you understand that opportunities are not limited, and just by me sharing authentically what it is that I'm doing, lots of people resonate with that, man, and opportunities will just eventually come to you. And so we get lots of people that bring us opportunities. I've been a licensed agent since 2018, and we have great relationships with agents here in town too. So we really, really focus on nurturing those relationships. So outside of some of the direct to seller stuff that we're doing, mail specifically, our network and referrals by far are our number 2 deal source for sure.
That's good. You're doing way better than Dean, and you're doing better than Stratton also so far. So keep it up. You're doing great.
That's good.
That's not really surprising.
I need this clip right here. Whatever this is right here, if you could clip that up so I could
clip it up, or just we'll hop on a 3 call. I'll tell straight to their faces. You know that.
I love it.
All right, so this is one thing that you do. We're talking about all the similarities, right? I'm going to give us an opposite thing that you do, or not a similarity, something we do not do yet. So I know you do some partnering with some students, and Shane or Gaynor on the 1s and 2s back there, he does some research. We had a little bit notes on you, and so tell me about partnering with students and maybe this Clovis deal, this flip that you did with some students. So kind of talk about how that comes about.
Absolutely, man. I mean, we've always been open to doing joint venture, one-off joint venture deals with, before it was ever coaching students, it was other investors, man. I think when you put yourself out there and you give so freely, it just leads to organically opportunities manifesting themselves. And people would come to us and say, hey, we've got this project, and we would offer them different options, and we could show them how to wholesale it to us. We could just pay them a finder's fee depending on how involved they want to be. Or if they wanted to do a lot of the heavy lifting and just bring the deal with a bow wrapped around it to us, and we just needed to raise the money and give it to our team, we would be open to working with them and partnering with them if the numbers made sense. And that eventually morphed into doing deals with a lot of the coaching students. And I'm sure, you guys may see some of this too. We give our students the full blueprint. We help them implement. We hold them accountable. And a lot of times, even at the beginning, man, they're lacking some of the confidence to just pull the trigger on their own. Not everybody is necessarily wired like us, where we're just like, let's just go in, we'll do it, we'll figure it out. And they want to do their first deal, or maybe their first few deal with training wheels, right? And they want to have a proven operator there to just make sure that they're not missing any major steps along the way. And so this deal in Clovis was one where one of our coaching students had the deal referred to them. And it was really cool the way that it was structured, because it was I consider like an A+ house in Clovis. So, we typically operate at or around our median price out here, which is around $400,000. This was a house that we ended up selling for almost $1 million. I think our resale price was in the low 9s. So not a typical fix and flip, at least for our market. And we took the first mortgage over subject to. We did a seller finance note in second position to basically carry whatever the bulk of the money the seller was going to get from the sale at the end. And we gave them $10,000 down. So we got into a $900,000 house for $10,000 down. And we ended up because the house was really not in bad shape and it was in a good area, we ended up putting about $40,000 into it for flooring, paint, updates, that type of stuff. We stuck it on the market in less than 90 days. I think we made $125,000, which we split, dude, which was really, really cool, man. It's great when those things come together like that. And I think, again, there was some need for capital. There was some need for expertise on how to structure the deal, because I think they had a vision for it, but they weren't sure exactly how to put all the pieces together. And it was really a lot of good synergies that ended up working out, and we made some really good money on that one too.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I'll let you go. One of my favorite is collaboration over competition, which is exactly what you did.
You've probably done a really good job of like formalizing these opportunities. And like Sam said, we don't really do that with our students yet, but we do got a good, strong local network here, and we have people that want to be a sales team member of our team, and maybe they're not quite ready yet. They're a little green, so we kind of lay out a blueprint, little training for them, and they go hunt down deals. And they can either make a quick assignment to us and just be out on the front end, or we can take it down at the price that they negotiated with and give them a split on the back end. So I think that's really cool, kind of a way to give back, but also just a way to increase your deal flow as well.
It is, man. It's been really good. You see the light bulbs go off for the coaching students, especially early on, and it reminds me a lot of those moments when, frankly, dude, I was just flying solo at the beginning, man. I had very, very little real estate experience, period. I had zero construction background, which was always kind of a limiting belief that I had. And I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants at the beginning. And sometimes I look back at some of the decisions I was making and I was like, shit, dude, I don't even know how I made it to this point because of just, you're just kind of going 100 miles an hour. And so it's nice to see them being able to operate with kind of a safety net, and they realize like, okay, this is good. I see where you're doing this. And then to see them take the next step after we do those deals or that first deal, they have the confidence to pull the trigger and kind of put the missing pieces of the puzzle together on their own. And then they're flying the nest, and we're always here to give them guidance and support if they need it. But the goal is always to get them operating independently as fast as possible.
That's super cool. Yeah, with just an example of a deal that we're working on right now with a gentleman that wasn't quite ready to be a full-time buyer for us. Coached him up, and he's out hunting for deals, and he's like, I finally got one. And we're like, all right, we'll see.
Let's be more positive.
But I was like, damn, this could be a deal. He negotiated it all with the seller, and again, our median price point around here, I would say, is around $300,000. So this house is like a $700,000 house, but it's in pretty solid shape. So he's negotiating with the seller at $440,000. I'm like, all right, we'll buy it outright for you at $450,000 if you want $10,000 right now, or you can go along the ride with us, and we're gonna clean and list this thing at $550,000. And pay you on the back end. He's like, I'll take the $10,000 now. And then he did this awesome post on social media where he found his calling and stuff. So I just think that's super fulfilling, and everybody wins.
It's such an amazing feeling, dude. It's like that feeling charges me up in a way that money could never, ever fulfill me. You know what I'm saying? It's like it has never gotten old. It's never like worn off. Like I got some texts this week. I had a couple texts, one specifically from a student that signed up with me at the very beginning. And he's been with me for 18 months, dude. And the guy has worked his ass off, and he's had lots of ups and downs, and had some stretches where, was being inconsistent, and then he was consistent, and he just locked up his first assignment fee for like $50,000, dude. And so he was so stoked, dude. And he just sent me this heartfelt text. And that feeling is why I think all of us probably on this call do coaching and pour our times and do all of that stuff, man, because it's just great to see people have these life-changing moments, and nothing would make me happier to figure out a way to bottle that up and give that to as many people as I possibly can.
I agree. I think that's an awesome way to put it. And that I always go back and forth on like doing deals with like students. I know we do the local stuff, but I mean, we have, at this point, we got 1,800 of them around the country in all 50 states. And it's like overwhelming. Maybe it's a limiting belief for me. It's just overwhelming. It's like, well, I don't have time to underwrite this property in, south of Atlanta or whatever. I don't know that market really well. Like, so we'd have to have somebody on staff. And I don't know. I just haven't done it yet, but I think there's an opportunity there because we have students buying, 20, 30 deals a year now at this point. So yeah, it's something we're kind of missing out on. Speaking of the education business, how's that? People that we've had on that have education businesses, not everybody does, but you do. I'm very transparent. We just had these conversations last week with Brian Davila, who works with Pineda out there in his education company. And our education company, and everybody I've talked to, except maybe one or two, has seen a pretty decent decline in the past, 6, 12 months, compared to, we're probably operating at about 40%, maybe 30% of what we were about a year and a half ago. And I think there's lots of reasons for that. And I love getting people's opinions. So how's your education business doing? Good, down, up, bad? And then, what are the reasons why you think it's doing whatever it's doing?
Our education business is pretty steady. And I remember we had a pretty long talk at the after party at my house. I was kind of picking your brain a little bit on how you're doing it. And our model is set up a little bit differently, where we have a one-on-one option, right? Where I felt for a very long time, if I was going to take money for coaching from a student, I was going to be so invested in them becoming successful that at least at the beginning, I wanted to have a little bit more, maybe control is not the right word, but I wanted to be able to insert myself a little bit more than I felt like I could do on a one-to-many type option, right? And so for us, we do group cohorts with our one-on-one students, and we do 10 students a quarter, and we fill those cohorts up, and that hasn't dropped off for us. What we've started to do is group training, where we do a lot of the trainings, the modules, and the different things that we can do one-to-many, and we're starting to scale that up a little bit more, and we're figuring out how to do that. But because we limit our enrollment, and honestly, because my team does such a good job, and I think our students are getting real results, I think I needed to go through a period through that first year where even though I felt confident that we could deliver, I think you need to see that a little bit, right? I had faith that we could perform, but it's different when you're seeing student after student experience those wins. We're able to share that social proof with the community. And because we've done such a good job of building our reputation and our brand out here, I think, we've had pretty good results, man. So it's been good to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that speaks to a couple of things. A, because you guys care so much. And I felt a very similar way. The first about year we had our mentorship, I didn't really want to talk about it on social media because it's like, oh yeah, that's why you're doing this, because you're selling a course, and people get in your head a little bit. But then I literally saw students quitting their jobs and doing all the things. So then I'm like, hell yeah, I have one, and it changes people's lives. And if you don't want it, that's fine, but you need to do one, because that's the only way to get ahead quickly is to follow somebody else's path. So very similar thing. And then I think our issues was just more of that we just, you guys were smart. You started at that 10 a quarter, whatever that is, and we're able to fill that the right way. We just shot off like a freaking rocket, and we're getting 70, 80 a month. And then that has fallen off. But we're still getting probably 30 or 40. I think we got 46 last month. So we're still getting people in. It's just not quite at the volume. And we grew so quickly, our overhead grew a lot. So anyways, we're just going through some growing pains, but I know you're doing really well, and we're still doing well compared to a lot of people. I know a lot of people are really hurting right now.
You brought up a good point, dude. And I think this is what you and I were talking about. I remember this conversation when we were here at the party, and I was still struggling with some of that imposter syndrome. And it's funny to say that, dude. I mean, it's like 9 years in the business, tons of success. I have given away so much of my time for free, like all those meetups and the events. I mean, I'd done hundreds of those just free, dude. Like I'd stay all night, stay there for as long as we want, never charged $1, gone on every lunch, every coffee meeting. And it just got to a point where it's just not tenable to just say yes to all of those things. But you still have a little bit of that imposter syndrome. You still have a little bit of that, oh yeah, you're the guru now, and that's why you're posting all of this stuff, and it was blah, blah. You know what I mean? And I think I had to go through that period from, let's call it April, when the last Deal Champs, to kind of now, where we saw a lot of those success stories, dude. And I was like, no, dude, these like literally same exact thing, coaching students quitting their jobs, dude, and making 6 figures in like 6 months, like all these wild results, dude. And it's like, it's just this amazing feeling. And it's given me and the team the confidence to really now push down on the gas. And not that we were never not proud of it, but like now we can speak with pride and really show these results and lift our students up, man. So it's been an amazing experience for sure.
Well, man, switching gears a little bit. Did I hear you just got back from Italy, Jason?
Greece.
Why'd you go to Greece? And just is traveling a big part of what you and your family get fulfillment out of? Tell me a little bit about that.
For sure. This is a huge part, man. And in 2016, anybody following me, they can scroll down my Instagram towards the bottom. I have a post of me and my wife in Cancun in 2016. And I set the intention that once a quarter, her and I were going to travel somewhere. And travel has always, even prior to getting into real estate, been the way that her and I pour back into our marriage, pour back into our relationship, reconnect. And I think probably like a lot of entrepreneurs out there, I never turn off, dude. Like I'm always on, I'm always thinking about the business. What I do now never feels like work, at least the way work used to feel like when I was in corporate America. So I genuinely love what I do. It's not like I don't have problems or fires that I need to put out every day, but I really genuinely enjoy it. And sometimes that can be a lot for my wife, dude. She doesn't love real estate the way that I do. So she's like, me talking about the business all the time is not always her cup of tea. So am not a big believer in like work-life balance, like people talk about it. I think that I heard Tom Kroll say this recently at a mastermind that I was at. He said, we're not striving for balance. We're striving for harmony in the most important areas of our lives. And so for me, harmony looks like I can work in sprints in my business, and a sprint feels like 2, 3, 4 months of just 100% focus, dedication, and then I can unplug for a couple weeks and not feel guilty or feel like I'm neglecting the business or anything like that. And back in 2016, we set the intention of once a quarter, we're going to do some travel. And it wasn't always, I mean, Greece and the Maldives and Bali and a lot of these places that we're going to now. I mean, sometimes it's just a weekend to the coast, or it was up to the mountains or something and renting a cabin or whatever. But because, you know, we have all these different expenses in our real estate business and our coaching businesses and our rental businesses, we're able to rack up such a significant amount of credit card points. I mean, dude, we spent 2 weeks in Greece. We flew business class out there both ways. We stayed at the nicest hotels and resorts, and 90% of it was covered on credit card points, man. I mean, we paid probably a tenth of what we would pay outside of what we're spending on like meals and stuff that we're out there. So the travel hacking thing has been something that my wife has gotten really good at, and so she's really good at gaming.
That's sick.
It's been really cool.
I'm flying to Florida tomorrow and on Southwest Point. So
Get it, Lou. Get it, Jason. Get it. Southwest Point. I think you said something that I've kind of have come to realize a little bit over the past, I don't know, year or so. But like I feel like everybody's so about this work-life balance thing, and everybody thinks it's like a destination or like a snapshot, and it's not. I say it's more of an action than a noun. It's just something you're always adjusting and readjusting. If you have the expectation that you're going to have weeks and months of just perfect balance, that's not accurate. That's not going to happen. Something's going to give. Something always does, and it's just because we're humans. But the biggest thing is just being aware of that when one gets a little bit too far, and just always doing things to help bring it back to as close of balance as possible. But it's not like this little, like, you know, balancing. What are those little deals that have like the weights on each side? What are those? They're just called the balance. Is that what they're fucking called? Scale of like perfectly one on each side. Yeah.
And I think harmony looks different for everybody, right?
Everybody.
I think,
Exactly.
you know, I'm probably more on like the a little more harmony throughout the time, instead of sprinting and then stopping, just more like a consistent jog, because we don't like traveling or whatever as much. So
we live in Missouri. Why the hell would you travel? The paradise of the Midwest is what it's called.
It's beautiful here. But anyway, just figuring out what that harmony looks like to you, and what looks like you being able to be there for your family and the business, you know, maybe not at the same time, but, you know, whatever that balance or harmony looks like, I think it's important for you to find out as an individual.
And what I'll say, at least for our marriage, man, I'm very fortunate to say that I've never been happier in my life or my marriage than I am right now.
Yeah.
But that's taken a lot of intentional work, both me internally, and then also me communicating with my wife and my family, right? Because I can just lock in, and work ethic is not my problem, dude. I can just work all day, and I'm very, very driven, and my ambition and my drive is off the charts. So putting in the hours has never been my issue. Sometimes it can be a detriment. So I've had to be very open and honest with my wife about the things that satisfy me and what makes Jason tick. And she's had to be very open and honest about what she needs from me and what she's looking for out of our lives. And we've done a very good job of, as one person maybe is either outpacing the other, right? We've never grown apart. We've always grown together. That's the thing. And when one person is moving a little bit faster, the other person has always found another gear and caught up, or this person has realized like, hey, maybe I need to slow it down and let this person catch up. And that's what's allowed us to be in this space, man. I just turned 43. She's going to be 43 here in a couple months. And it is, dude, it's an amazing feeling. And I say that with a lot of gratitude that, you know, we are in this incredible space, dude, in our life and in our business. And it just feels like everything is clicking and firing on all cylinders, man. And it's just a feeling that it feels like this is how life was always supposed to be for me. You know what I'm saying? That feeling of me being stuck in a cubicle, this is like complete opposite end of the spectrum over here where I'm at right now, dude. And so it's just a really cool full circle moment.
Yeah, beautiful, man. How long you guys been together?
We've been together 18 years, married for 12. And so, you know, we've, you know, it's a story for maybe another episode, man. But I mean, Jennifer has been with me for the worst of the worst, dude. Yeah. And I went through, prior to, you know, leaving corporate America, and even in that period where I always call it this transitional period in my life, man, it was a really, really like what I would consider my rock bottom. And to her credit, she not only stood by me and was there and was loyal, she was also my biggest fan and believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, dude. When I tell you that I had zero real estate experience, bro, I had none. I had literally zero, besides like buying and selling one primary residence. And she was my biggest champion, dude. And I was the main breadwinner in the house. So for me to walk away from my job, and I was making really good money at that time, to go down to one income where we had 2 young kids, we had a mortgage, we had car payments, all the credit, all the things that come along with that, right? She had all the faith in me to just go and do it. And we mortgaged our house. We maxed out every credit card. We cashed in our life savings. And she had a vision that I didn't have at the beginning, man. And so I always say, you know, she was the first investor in our relationship. She invested and bought stock in me at the very lowest, and now she's rode the wave to the top, and nobody deserves it more than her, man.
She just bought like Nvidia stock, you know, like a couple years ago. Same thing.
She bought Nvidia when it was whatever at the bottom, dude, and she's absolutely surfing the wave right now at the top, man.
Well, good for her and good for you guys. That is awesome. That's really cool to hear. We're Luke's and I are a couple years younger than both you guys, but it's really cool to see people like growing in their marriage. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh, it just stays steady. You have to constantly work on it and push it.
Especially when you get together and, you know, have been with our significant others as long as we have. We were completely different people.
Yes,
both of us. Yeah. All 3 of us and all 3 of our spouses were completely different people. And to be able to kind of weather that and grow together and not apart during that time is definitely something for all of us to be proud of. So I think that's super cool and beautiful. And like, what I like to say is, you know, if my relationship is right and healthy with my significant other and my boys, like coming to work, that's just icing on the cake, man. That's just easy.
That's the fun part.
Exactly. And if that's not right, then work feels like actual work, or something's not right and my head's somewhere else. So those are the key relationships that I work on keeping right in my life, and it's very important for my harmony. And I just think it's amazing that you guys set that intention to travel together once a quarter.
That's
incredible. Amazing, man.
Awesome. All right, we got a game we're going to play now. But before we do, why don't you tell everybody listening where to find you? I'm on a decent amount of podcasts, and everybody always waits till the end to do that when nobody's listening. So hopefully we still got a bulk of the listeners. So tell them where to find you and talk about the deal summit you got coming up. I know it's a few months out, but at least talk about what it is and how they can eventually find out about it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The best place to connect with me, number one, would be my website. It's www.jasonpritchard.com. If you want to follow along with any of the cool stuff that we're doing, I'm really, really active on my social, my stories, and our posts. So Jason Pritchard on Instagram or Facebook, I'd love to connect with you guys there. I answer all my DMs. And I truly am an open book, man. And so if there is a question or a resource, if I can be help to anybody that's listening on this show, do not hesitate to reach out. And if I can help you, I definitely will. Yeah, dude. I mean, that's about it. I mean, I think the easiest places to catch me would be there. And then the Deal Champ Summit, we did our first one last April. It was a big success. The next one is going to be this coming April. I believe the dates are the 4th and the 5th. It's a Friday and Saturday. It is going to be here in Fresno, California. We have an amazing venue, Table Mountain Casino. Sam, you were a speaker there on the second day for it, man. You can attest to
it was really cool
just the energy and the venue and everything that was there, man. We've got a really cool speaker lineup already there. I'm not going to drop any names yet, but I think we've got some big people coming. And it should be cool, man. It should be an amazing experience for everybody that's there. So we would love to have anybody that's listening on the show attend that in April when it comes up.
Nice. He's got Dwayne The Rock Johnson. He's got Kevin Hart coming.
Tom Cruise, Tom Brady,
Alex Rodriguez, Tom Brady. Yeah. So it's quite.
I wasn't going to say maybe future President Trump will be on there. We'll see what happens. We might get either that or we'll have Dean dressed up as the president.
He's done that before.
Yeah, he's a knucklehead. Awesome. All right, so we're going to play a game now called Over Under. I'm not going to explain the rules. I think you'll get it. Luke, get us kicked off. We don't know the answer either, by the way. This is put together by Shane, so all 3 of us are going to be working through it together.
All right, let's do it.
Number 1, the ice sheet covering Antarctica is on average about 0.9 miles thick. So almost a mile thick of ice.
On average through all of Antarctica, over or under that 0.9 miles.
It feels so high that it's going to be over just because it's a crazy number.
But there's over a mile. You know how long a mile is? That's 4,500 steps. 45,000 steps.
I'm going under.
Global warming, of course you would. All right, I'm gonna go over with Luke. It's just because that seems insane. But all right.
Yeah, over works for me.
What do we got, Shaner?
It is over. It is 1.2 miles.
That's 1.2 miles. That is
digging for a while.
That is
if you're gonna hit
that
not frost line.
And that is deep, which Lucas knows nothing about.
Ding.
All right, every episode I try to make fun of Lucas for never going deep into anything in his life, and Shane hits a button. So I did it this episode. We're good. I'm about 90% of the episodes I get that in there.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good one. All right, number 2. The longest record chicken fight. Longest recorded chicken fight lasted 18 seconds.
This is chicken flight. So the longest recorded
chicken
flight.
I was like, that seems way over.
It looked like fight, didn't it?
And chickens do fight.
Yeah, I thought, I was like, where are you, Jay? I was like, Shane, your mom listens to this. Don't talk about chicken fighting. All right, we're going to start this over because I fucked that up pretty bad. The longest recorded chicken flight lasted 18 seconds. A flight.
Ooh.
So they could fly, I guess.
I guess if you throw
18
them.
seconds is, I think that's kind of long
That
dude, for a
is
chicken
for
to
Lucas,
be in
that's
the
a
air,
long time,
not
yeah.
touching the ground. I don't know.
I'm going under. That's a long time. 18 seconds?
I think under 2.
Under as well.
It is under. It is 13 seconds.
Oh,
There you go.
shout out to that.
That's
chicken.
a record for Lucas, too. All right, you get the last one.
All right. The surface area of the Earth is about 230 million square miles.
That's a huge number, but it seems light to me. But that's
Yeah, I was going to say it seems low.
I think about it. But 230 million square miles.
That's a long way. Let's think of like Missouri real quick.
All right.
It's like, what, 225 miles wide and maybe like 300 miles.
So that's 650 miles. 650 square. 6,500. Yeah.
Yeah, so 6,000 miles. So times, let's say, 50 states, give or take. What's that? What would America
You're the
do
engineer.
then?
I don't fucking know.
6 times 5 is so 35,000. No, 35.
You're giving
350,000.
You're gonna have a headache after this.
350,000 just in the United States.
I'm going over. You're confusing me,
So is the United States.
Lucas. All right, while he's doing this in his head and giving himself a headache, Jason, what do you think? Over or under?
I'm going over.
If you can tell, we're both idiots. If you can't tell, I think you've already figured that out by now. But
Lucas's math totally threw me off. I
and he
felt
did it way
confident,
wrong.
And then I was like, oh shit,
No,
I
so
don't know.
I promise you it was
so that
wrong.
means of 230, America would have to be 15% of the total square footage.
But your math's not right.
So that means it's over.
Okay, but that's
No
not,
idea.
Your math's not right.
Yeah.
Let's go over.
So
Find out.
everybody's over?
Just a
I'm
guess.
over.
Pure guess.
It is under.
Gosh damn it, Matt.
196.9 million square miles.
So Jason, we made him give us a 20% buffer because at first when we opened the floodgates to him, it was like off by like 1 or something. We're like, come on now, you got to give us a
231.
little bit of a buffer. Yes, so that means your math, as I said, was
Completely wrong.
very wrong.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
I guess there's some small states.
Maybe we can cut up and do a short and do like that Zach Galifianakis, trying to figure out like the Rain Man kind of thing going on.
Oh yeah, where he's got the
that'd be funny.
Yeah.
formulas going up on top
And
of
just
it.
wrong, and then
Yeah.
just end the short with wrong.
Love it. I'd share the hell out of that.
Yes, you would. Awesome, man. Well, anything you want to leave anybody with? Any, like a quote or any kind of just motivational thing you want to leave the peeps with before we trash it?
I would say for the people that have been on the fence, man, and that are wanting to do this, but for one reason or another, either getting in their own way or they're just, not ready to pull the trigger. I've met lots of people that have never done a deal. I've met lots of people that have done number of real estate deals. I've never met anybody that's done one deal and stopped. So the big thing, guys, if you're in that first group of people, just do your first fucking deal, dude. That's it. If you can get your first deal under your belt and just figure it out, I think the likelihood that you're going to find success is going to skyrocket, man. And don't be, obviously the numbers have to make sense and it's got to financially be sound because you don't want to wreck yourself right out of the gate, but you gain so much from just the experience. Obviously the money is great and we need that money there, but you learn so much and gain so much confidence from that experience that if you can just get that first domino to fall, I think you're going to be well on your way, man. So just focus on getting that first deal and take it from there.
Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Make sure to hit that like button, comment with something you learned, and make sure to subscribe to this channel. We give away more free advice on how to create wealth based on things we actually do every single day than any other channel on YouTube. Make sure to share this with a friend because our mission is to inspire you to think differently about freedom.